Thank you, Madam President. I do want to thank and echo the comments of my colleagues. I want to thank the majority. I want to thank the sponsor for bringing this resolution to the floor. As was mentioned, the Korean conflict often is sometimes referred to as the forgotten war. And maybe in some ways, not surprising, it's sandwiched between World War II, which literally was fought for the preservation of liberty and freedom across the globe, and then the Vietnam War, which divided America as never before. And just last week, we recognized our Vietnam veterans, and we talked a lot about how they were treated when they got home and how we endeavor every day to make sure that never happens again, that veterans never are treated that way when they return. Because for that generation, that's their hallmark. That's the scar that they bore after the conflict. But I think something even worse than being maybe treated poorly or maybe not fully recognized is to be forgotten. And especially when you put your life on the line, especially when you know people who died in that conflict, to be forgotten, I think, is something that all of us would never want, and certainly for our veterans. And I think it is important that we recognize all of our veterans, but obviously each individual conflict, because each individual conflict is unique. Each individual conflict has certain unique hallmarks for that generation, for those veterans, whether they were young men or women, or whether they were battle-hardened veterans out of World War II, who then also fought in Korea, where I know many did. I remember taking a group of veterans to Washington, D.C. to see the monuments. And we went to World War II. We took World War II veterans to the World War II monument. We took Vietnam veterans, of course, to the wall. The Korean monument is really a ghostly and unforgettable monument in Washington, D.C. The sculptures of soldiers marching through through what would be Korea in their gear from that time, and their ponchos and their K-pots. It is a ghostly feeling. You almost feel like you're looking at real visages of human beings, of veterans, of soldiers, right there in the mall in Washington, D.C. And I know the Korean War veterans who attended that, who laid a wreath at that monument, I hope it brought them some measure of closure, and I hope that these kinds of recognitions bring them not only some closure, but the understanding that it is not forgotten. And of course, we know that the echoes of that conflict are still with us today. There are still 38,000 U.S. servicemen and women who are in Korea today at the DMZ, protecting our ally, South Korea, but also protecting the hard-fought gains that American servicemen and women died for back in 1951 to 53. That's what they're there to do, to protect South Korea, but to also protect what I would consider hallowed ground, where American service members spilled their blood. And again, we know that the very real dangers posed by a regime like North Korea, and we hope, and I think we work towards, hopefully, making sure that we never have to send hundreds of thousands of U.S. service members back to Korea. And that would be the real reason to remember their service, is to make sure that their grandkids or their great-grandkids don't have to go back and die at Incheon or somewhere else over on the Korean Peninsula. So, again, thank you to the sponsor. Thank you to all my colleagues for supporting this resolution. Madam President, thank you for your indulgence.